acoustic guitar and a I can't remember the guy's last name, but anyways, a book of chords. And but before that, when I was a kid, around on a Christmas, I received a little Norelco tape recorder and Meet the Beatles. And so my parents at the time had a big, giant console, like a radio and record player, looked like a big elephant in the living room. And so I used to listen to my records on there, and then when I got that little tape recorder, I would turn it on and listen to the Beatles and stuff like that. And I would take it to my room so I could listen to it, because in the living room everybody was there so they could listen to music. So anyway, eventually I got the tape recorder and I would turn on records and I would sing along and blend in with them. So at the age of 13, I heard myself on tape. So later on in life, you know, got in a recording studio around 18 years old, and I heard myself on tape, and it was no big deal. You know, like when you used to use those answer phones, and you would, you know, say, "Hi, this is so and so. I won't be here right now. So please leave a message." And you play it back, and you hear your voice, and you go, "Oh my God, is that what I sound like?" You know. So I didn't go through that. So because I already had gone through that, broke that barrier, and from then on, I just started writing songs. I never played anybody's songs or learned anybody's songs, so I just wrote my own songs to myself, and it just kind of developed that way.
Well, so are you like so many musicians? Did you see the Ed Sullivan performance of the Beatles?
Yeah, I saw the Ed Sullivan show. I had a cousin who was 8 years older than I, and he took me to go see the Beatles at the Hollywood Bowl.
Oh wow, what was that like?
It was amazing. Except that when at that age I was screaming out, "Shut up!"
Because all the girls were screaming,
like, around you, just screaming and all that. So, but it was really great. And then later on in life, I met George Harrison, John Lennon, and been to some, you know, McCartney stuff. And so, big influence: The Who, The Kinks, The Stones. So I'm sort of like a mod child. You know, I like the mod music from that area.
All the 60s stuff.
Yeah,
it's the basis for the band we're here to celebrate today.
Yeah, and that was a funny thing because Vinnie and I were just so into that at the time. You know, when I met Vinnie, he was into the same thing too. So we just kind of had a mutual, you know, bonding in that sense of music ecology.
Okay, well, so I want to give everyone a chance to ask your questions. So, but I want to hit a couple of key points, and many of you may not know this, but Robert was the singer in Journey for a brief period, and I really want to cover that to talk about what was that like for you? How did you get the gig? What are all of, you know, give us some stories.
Wow, long story. I had a manager who was involved with the management with the Doors, and he put me into a recording studio called Paramount Recording Studios, and I worked with a engineer who worked with Frank Zappa, did a lot of his albums, Kenny McPherson or something like that. But so I did a couple of demos. He played it for this guy named Bruce Glattman, who was a manager also, and he started interested in me, and I met through Bruce Glattman a guy named Frank Rand, who's an A&R guy at CBS, and he had a booking agency in Chicago, and he asked me if I'd be interested in coming to Chicago because he had several bands that he wanted to put a lead singer in. So I went to Chicago, a historical winter. Never been in a winter situation like that because I'm from California, and I just found a band that I really liked out of the 5 bands that he showed me, and I played with them for you know, for about a year and a half. We opened up for Cheap Trick and stuff like that. Played all over Midwest and Florida.
What year was that? What year was that?
That was '76, I think, and then I got a call from a guy named Barry Fay, who was friends with this man, Bruce Glattman. And Bruce Glattman played my tape to him, and Barry Fay, who was like one of the biggest promoters, rock and roll promoters in the United States at the time, along with Bill Graham. Bill Graham had the Fillmore East and the Fillmore West, and Barry had the whole Midwest. And so anyway, Barry called me up and asked me if I wanted to sort of like, hey kid, you want to hit the big time? So I said, sure. So I gave my notice to the band. Luckily, I was with a band because I had been playing every night for quite some time. So it was, I was acclimated to be in front of people and all that stuff. So when the opportunity came to play with Journey, I was kind of seasoned. So anyway, I go to Colorado, and I go there, and he asked me if I wanted to do a showcase for CBS Records, and I said yeah. So I had 2.5 weeks, and I wrote 7 songs, and I assembled a band, and I rehearsed the band, and then the day came where I was going to do the showcase, and all these people from the East Coast and the West Coast came to Colorado on a very snowy night, which we didn't know everybody was going to make it, but they did. And I performed, and about 3 days later, I got a call asking if I'd be interested to come to Los Angeles and have a meeting with the executives of CBS Records. So I go there, and they said, hey, we got this band named Journey. We're thinking about putting a lead singer into them, because at that time, I think Foreigner had come out, Boston had come out, so it was kind of like, hey, let's, we got these great musicians, let's put somebody in the front. So
and they wanted to commercialize Journey more than what it was.
Because at the time, Journey was a rock jazz fusion band who played 8-minute to 11-minute songs, and so anyway, so I'm waiting to go to San Francisco, and time's flying by, and I met George Lynch from the Lynch Mob, which he's a great guitar player, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Yeah, I love the guy. So we started rehearsing together and playing, and we started writing, and all of a sudden I get the call to go to San Francisco, and so I kind of, sorry George, and so I go up to San Francisco, and I meet the band, and we have a little lunch and start talking, and then after that we got up on stage at SIR Studios in San Francisco, and we jammed for about 2 hours, and the rest is kind of history. I wrote Wheel in the Sky with them, like I said, and Anytime with Greg Raleigh, and Windsor March with Neil, and All For You with the band. So then I end up being in the band, and we recorded, and we went on tour, and we opened up for Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and we our first gig was with Judas Priest and REO Speedwagon in Texas. Yeah.
Nice.
So we did a little of that. There was some other bands I can't remember.
Were they receptive to you coming in? Did they want to make a more radio-friendly sound?
The band itself?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so it wasn't just pushed on them by the label.
Well, it was kind of funny in the beginning because, like I said, here's a band that played 11-minute songs, and now you're going to have to play, 5-minute to 4-minute songs, and being brand new in the situation, I felt very uncomfortable at the same time because here are these great musicians and everything, and now I'm telling them, like, okay, we got 4 bars for the verse, B section, and so now I'm giving them song structure, and now everything has to be in like 4/4 in a sense, and so it was really kind of like, how are they going to take it? I think they kind of like, stepped back for a little bit, but then they understood what was going on, and they gravitated towards it, and then it all, everybody was on the same page.
Well, they came from Santana, so that's a jam band in itself.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So then how did it end where you ended up leaving, and then Steve Perry was the next singer that came in?
Well, at the time, even while I was in the band, there was this guy from CBS who was paying for demos for Steve Perry, and he kept sending them to Herbie Herbert, the manager of Journey, and he just said, you know, if you take Steve on, we'll give you a bigger budget. We'll give you get you airplay. We'll do all this. So it was sort of like the Godfather. You know, make a deal that you can't.
So there was a power push.
Yeah. So it was pretty much like that, a power push. So that's the reason why I left. There was never like any arguments or anything like that. So I eventually just kind of got squeezed out, and then after that, I did a solo album on Arista Records that was signed by Clive Davis.
That's Perfect Strangers, right?
And I did the Perfect Stranger album with Jimmy Iovine, who worked with U2 and Bruce Springsteen. And when I met Jimmy, he had just got through finishing up an album with John Lennon, and so
nice.
that was nice.
Well, and someone was asking me earlier to ask you if the Perfect Strangers album will ever come out on CD.
Well, that I don't know, because I talked to Arista Records about licensing it at the time, and they really wanted a lot of money at the time. So maybe somebody like Rock Candy from England might pick it up, because they picked up a album I did in England called Channel. So, and they did a reissue on that, and that was on Epic Records.
Yeah, well, and also look at all the smaller independent labels now, Rhino as well,
right,
picking up these back catalog.
Yeah, like I'm so bad. I don't really like doing that groundwork, that legwork, and I should find somebody that'd like to do that for me and see about getting those things out.
Well, you should, because people are asking about it.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. I'm telling you, man, I'm so surprised that you guys even know who the hell I am and whatever. But I thank you very much, and
give a round of applause, people.
Very overwhelmed. I just can't believe it. Thank you very much. God bless you all. Thank you.
Well, we're happy that you're here. Okay, so then you did some solo album stuff, and then now let's talk about the Vinnie Vincent Invasion. But I want to ask you one question before we go into that Journey related. What are your thoughts on their current band and what they're doing now?
I really like Arnell.
Yes.
I really loved Steve Ajeri. But Arnell has got a little bit of his. He's really good, and he brings a lot of excitement to the band. I think they do better now than they did in the past. This summer they're going to play with Def Leppard and Journey combo. This summer they'll be playing, so I'll be going there to see one of the shows or whatever. And I've always got along with the band, never had any bad feelings with anybody. I still talk with them. I received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame with them.
Nice.
Yeah, so
that's an accomplishment.
And they've been inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame also. So we get along famously, and we probably always will. So
great.
And
all right.
Thank everybody for that too, because you guys all are part of the momentum of a lot of people's careers. I mean, you're all followers of music, and you guys are the guys that make us come to life and sustain our art. So
well, and that's one of the cool things about the Kiss fans, is that all of us follow all of these different artists who are somehow associated with the band in one way or another.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of fans here that we're very happy to see you today.
I remember Gene calling me up one time and saying, "You're on the Kiss family tree," and I'm going like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah." So I was very honored to be on it.
Okay, so let's hop
Quite a family, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Let's hop forward then now to the Vinnie Vincent Invasion. I'm sure a lot of folks don't know the story, so can you take us back to basically how it all transpired and what happened and some stories?
Vinnie and I had a mutual friend. His name was Adam Mitchell. And Adam Mitchell wrote songs with Kiss and Paul Stanley and stuff like that.
Yep.
So I guess Vinnie was asking around, anybody, any singers in Los Angeles, in Hollywood. and my name was brought up, and I talked to Vinnie on the phone, and he came to my